Ballers, welcome back to some World of Warcraft. I've been dying to do this for so long. I don't want to, with the last season leading into War Within, do like day-to-day gear grinding in World of Warcraft. What I do want to do though is make sure I'm all tidied up with Dragonflight and ready to go into, as Chris Messer said, come home. I'm more than willing, as I said to Ian, is like, I'm willing to come home and check it out. And I've been talking a lot with Blizzard recently about the War Within, so you'll find out about some of that stuff upcoming as the game approaches. But this was... what I mainly wanted to do was wrap up the whole story of Dragonflight. I don't want to farm gear. A new game's coming. I'm not into like farming all the Mythic Plus and stuff. I wanted to do Amirdrassil, and I wanted to check out how the story is going to wrap up, certainly in preparation for the War Within and following the somewhat disastrous ending to the Amirdrassil raid. You know, we had the memes of family and all that kind of stuff. It didn't play out very well, which is really unfortunate given the hype coming from War Within, is that's what they had as the like ending to the game. In fact, it was worse than I remembered, and I'll get to that in a second. So my game plan with World of Warcraft right now is I do want to cap all the characters, so I'll probably do that in my off time, because I know it doesn't take very long, because I don't want to come back and redo Dragonflight when War Within is in. I don't know what I'm going to be playing in War Within yet. It's probably going to be my warrior, but we'll see. Was to wrap up all the story. And obviously I hadn't done the Amirdrassil story yet. After the Race to World First, I had other projects to get on. Got into there. So I went back and very quickly hit the point of you need to do Amirdrassil. But before that, oh boy. This is something that desperately, desperately needs to be solved before the War Within comes. And that is Blizzard's storytelling desperately wanting these huge, mega, epic moments that are massively undeserved. There's a longer video in this, probably for the main channel, where I can do some more specific examples, but this channel is generally for people who are in the know, and I'll always do a TLDR, but it needs more study, because it's rife with errors in how they're delivering this. I know the War Within is going to be more story-focused. World of Warcraft is never going to be story-focused, but they want it to be more immersive, especially as people have experienced greener grass elsewhere. Along with systems are as important with that as story. I think we're always a bit too focused on War Within story, but it's also a ton of systems that people have gotten used to in other MMOs that are now coming to World of Warcraft, and rightfully so. The quest idea that they tried to push, and one of the problems I had last time I checked World of Warcraft, is suddenly characters arrived, like Wrathion arrived. I was like, why is Wrathion here? And it's not explained. At the story point I got to, Wrathion just shows up in the dream, and it's like, oh god, Wrathion's here now. And you can't talk to him or do anything. I'm like, wait a minute, why is Wrathion here? And he's here because he needs to be here for the next story, but he just shows up. And they tried, and I get what they were going for here. Once I got into there, and Wrathion does have a good quest line, which we'll go into, is that they make a point of why certain characters aren't here. Because World of Warcraft's... And I don't think we're too bothered, because we're very used to, as World of Warcraft players, certain characters who should be involved in what the hell is going on, just not being there. And we just accept that that's because how the WoW story is told. So Khadgar would be the most obvious example, is that Khadgar shows up whenever the hell he feels like. We apparently don't have his phone number. And, you know, we've got these huge characters like Thrall, like Jaina, who should be involved in what the hell is happening here, and they're just not here. And this time they tried to explain it, and I was like, that's really cool. And their point was that Farak has essentially blocked travel, despite the fact, and again, this is where World of Warcraft's reality and storytelling collide in a horrendous way, because we can travel there very easily, but these guys are blocked. They can't get in. Like, all these people we would love to get through, our forces have been prevented from entering the dream, and we're like, but I can really easily. In fact, there's a portal literally in the city that brings me here in a matter of seconds, but that's because of the practicality of having to get to the raid and things like that. I get it, but it always comes across as awkward and clumsy. Let's put it that way. But okay, let's buy into it, all right, friends? Let's buy into the fact that Farak has blocked access, our forces can't get access to the dream, and the temple, the entrance to Amirdrassil, is under attack, and blah, 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 blah. They go from setting that up in a very sort of spurious way in the quest line to within 5 or 6 minutes, a couple of combat quests, because that's how World of Warcraft works. Here's the situation. Go and kill 10 things. Go and kill 5 things. It's always the same over and over again. And then we'll play a cutscene because you've wrapped up this mini piece of the campaign. To having what they really wanted to be an Avengers Endgame moment of on your left and having all of these characters pour out. And I had a real mixed reaction from my audience in that people are like, this is just so bad. It's so bad. I said, I actually don't mind it because, and I mean that genuinely, I don't mind it because in World of Warcraft storytelling, it's bad, but it's also kind of fun to have these characters in. But it doesn't stop the fact that it's so undeserved and so wasted, and God, that will never not be a problem if they want people to give a toss about this story and have some of the reactions they are capable of, because this should be something that is built up for months, for literally months. Like, this should be something that is absolutely earned, because I imagine most people who don't read the quest text, which I did, were like, okay, and then suddenly Thrall and Jaina showed up. All right. We opened the door and everyone came through. And that's, you know, that it's just so... And they really wanted this moment. Like, they have this epic cutscene of them all arriving. And you're like, oh my, there's some really awesome characters that have just shown up into our world. And it's just so undeserved. And this is such a prime example of where this needs to change. Like, now they have this 3 expansion block, essentially, of storytelling where they can set things up to pay off, not even in this expansion, but later on. This is exactly what needs to be done. Because a moment like this comes across as absolute cringe to most players, which it shouldn't be. This should be momentous. This should be epic. This should be absolutely superb. We all buy into the MMO-ness of, yes, I can travel backwards and forwards because practically I need to be able to get to my bank. I need to be able to go in PvP. I need to be able to go and do my crafting quests. I need to be able to do all that and then come back to the story. You can't physically lock the player out of doing those things. You can have the story over here, but going from like, our forces can't get through to endgame in a matter of moments. Oh dear. Yeah, it's not great. It's not great. And I understand why most people who probably didn't even realize what the hell we were doing for the most part, because they just accept the quest and go and kill things, are like, what the... And then suddenly everybody showed up. This is just garbage. But it's just undeserved, and I don't want it to feel undeserved. I want it to be better. But for War Within, this has to change. This has to be better. Because the cutscenes are better. They're significantly better. They're way more liberal use of these cutscenes, which are skippable if you don't want to watch them. But for people who are interested and want the story to be good, which includes me, then it needs to have some oomph to it, and it doesn't have oomph. It's like, hey, everybody's here. That is what I took away from it. I'm not saying I loved it by any means, but I was like, this is fine. For World of Warcraft, it's fine. It's still bad, but it'll do. It is what it is. And I got to do Amirdrassil, which was kind of memes. We were way too strong. My character was very low because I haven't farmed any gear. But we got through Methuzahla, and then the cutscene played. And I forgot how bad the actual forced cutscene at the end of it is, which is just like the stage of the dragon aspects. And I understand how this storytelling is done, because I've no doubt the prerequisite for everything here, and I mean this when you break it down a lot, when you really break down the story into its real core elements that need to happen, and then you fill in along the way to make a journey, is that by the end of Dragonflight, we need the aspects to have their powers back. Because that's going to be important going forward, right? That's going to be important going into War Within, etc. We need that to happen. So how you get there, fill it with raid bosses, fill it with little stories, you know, fill it with characters and things like that. That's all up to you guys. But the most important thing is that by the end of Dragonflight, the dragon aspects need to have their powers back, because we're going to need them later. Okay, so we start in the Dragon Isles, and then we get to this bit. Makes total sense. Now, as we push through this, you have to talk to Amirdrassil to get the remaining story, which was cool. So then we had the epilogue, essentially, of what was going on. What I really enjoyed is Sarah returning to Ardenweald and Malfurion coming back. And that's payoff with Tyrande. I thought that was really nice. And the shift of power to new faces, moving onto their daughter, of like the old guard almost going and retiring. And that's how I saw the Tyrande Malfurion scene, is like, we're going away now. We've done our bit. We're good. We're going to sit here. We still exist. We're not dead. But we need to start moving the story into other characters that can be important later on, that are younger and can make their own story and forge their own path, just like Anduin's doing. I still maintain that Anduin is the future of World of Warcraft, if not already is doing that, considering the Dragonflight cutscene, the War Within cinematic. So I'm really happy that they're moving more characters in. It's a nice sort of send-off to them as going to live in a white picket fence, little house with a little gate, have a little dog. Whatever they're going to do over there is super cool. Sarah's back. I was like, okay, they're positioning pieces. And it's very much, I saw the end of the epilogue like chess pieces of just moving people into position to make sure that when we go forward, it all makes sense. Same with Vyranoth. One thing that I think the best takeaway I got from the epilogue of Dragonflight's story is that Iridikron is still around. Great. This is something where John High and Holly, when I got to sit with them and talk with them at Blizzard, were talking about, like, it's so important more than ever that we start carrying our characters over into, our villains especially, across expansions. Because we're always introducing them, killing them off. It's an introduction, middle bit, resolution. Introduction, middle, resolution. Start, middle, resolution. And the villains are done with by the end, so we have this, like, fresh slate every time we go into a new expansion for a completely new genre and twist. Instead of somebody building up and being a legitimate threat. Iridikron's pulling that off. Iridikron is scary in World of Warcraft storytelling terms. He's scary, he's powerful, he means business, and he's going to be doing something later on. Let's hope they don't waste that. Like, mark this moment. Do they, like, just fucking start a war with him? They just jizz it away. Like, Iridikron's dead now. Okay, I suppose so. This is a character that they seem intentionally like is going to come back. I've really enjoyed overall. I got a lovely send-off with the rest of the dragons, Rathion's questline, at the end with the epilogue. My overall little quick thoughts, without studying more about War Within, because I want to talk more about systems, which isn't the place here now, is that I give it like a 6 out of 10 for World of Warcraft tellings. Like, it started very strong. I really like the introduction to Dragonflight. I really like the stuff with Malagos and the resolution there. I liked a lot of story elements, and it just suffers so painfully from undeserved moments of epicness that just fall flat because they're undeserved. There's no proper build. There's no emotional investment. There's no excitement of it happening because it happens so fast. It's constantly just premature ejaculation, which is what I would describe the WoW story as over and over again. It's just premature ejaculation. It's just set up and then they smack it all the time. Very, very quickly. It happened last time, certainly in the latter third of the Dragonflight story. It's just over and over again. And that's something that needs to go away. So those are my thoughts there. I want to do something on the main channel with a bit more reasoned thought. But there you go, guys. So I'll see you again. Bye, guys.